Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're embarking on quite a fascinating journey. We're looking into brain adventures for kids. It's a series of developmental workbooks, really aimed at young learners, say ages 4 to 8. Our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack how these workbooks, how they go beyond just typical exercises. We want to explore how they're specifically crafted to build those foundational cognitive skills, and also how they foster that really crucial learning-to-learn mindset in kids. You'll discover how they work, the thinking behind their design, why it's apparently so effective, and practical ways you can use them at home or in the classroom. Okay, let's unpack this. So at its core, Brain Adventures for Kids. It isn't just a random bunch of worksheets, right? It's presented more like a pathway, a carefully sequenced path designed to progressively strengthen key cognitive skills, foundational ones. We're talking attention span, logical reasoning, memory, spatial awareness.
That's the understanding of shapes, positions, relationships between objects, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And confidence, too, which is maybe the most important part.
Right.
And it all happens step by step. No pressure, no boredom. That's the idea anyway.
And that gentle progression, that sequencing, it's incredibly important. The exercises, they start out simple, really approachable for the younger kids. Then they gradually get a bit more complex, more like puzzles for, say, older preschoolers, early elementary kids. The goal is never to overwhelm them. It's always about building on success, so they start to feel good about learning,
Yeah, and the format itself seems like a big part of that success. It's playful, very game-like. They even call each page a mini adventure, which makes the learning feel, engaging, enjoyable. But what really grabs me is this idea of fostering a learning-to-learn mindset. How the series aims to develop these essential habits, thinking habits, focus habits, teaching kids to notice details, compare things, classify, identify patterns, and solve problems through, gentle scaffolding. Expert, can you maybe elaborate on why this foundational skill, this metacognition, thinking about thinking, why is that so vital, especially now, in our world, beyond just school?
That's a really great point. It's not just about getting the right answer on the page. It's about building the mental architecture for future learning. When kids learn to notice details or compare or spot patterns, they're not just solving that puzzle. They're developing strategies, metacognitive strategies. They're learning how to tackle new problems, how to focus, how to stick with something when it gets tricky. And that skill is just critical. It empowers them to adapt, right? To keep learning throughout their lives, makes them agile thinkers. And the amazing thing, parents, educators, they report seeing real improvements. Just 10 or 15 minutes a day consistently, improvements in concentration, in self-motivation. That's a huge return on a pretty small time investment.
That really says something about the long-term impact.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about the design. One thing that jumps out is the look, that clean black and white format. So many kids' resources are just exploding with color. Overwhelming visuals sometimes. This feels very deliberate. Expert, what's the thinking behind that? This kind of minimalist approach, does it really help focus? Or are there downsides?
It's a fascinating choice, you're right. And what's fascinating here is how the simplicity itself becomes a powerful tool for focus and inclusivity. Research, like in cognitive load theory, suggests that too much visual noise can actually distract young minds, especially when they're still developing attention skills. So, by cutting down those external distractions, the black and white format helps kids really concentrate on the task, engage their thinking without getting overstimulated. Plus, it subtly encourages kids to color it in themselves, or finish the illustrations, which adds this nice creative element, kind of integrating art without needing complex instructions.
That makes a ton of sense, especially thinking about different learning environments. The clear visual instructions, the intuitive design. It means even kids who aren't reading yet or maybe have limited English, they can often figure out the tasks, which makes it super suitable for bilingual students, diverse backgrounds. Whether they're using it at home or, in school, it really lowers the barrier to entry, doesn't it? Okay, so let's talk about bringing these adventures home. For parents listening, these workbooks, they're really designed to feel like a fun challenge, a mini adventure, like we said, not like a formal lesson. The goal is to spark that genuine curiosity, that joy in learning, without the pressure you sometimes get with, say, traditional homework.
And that's a huge plus for parents. You don't need a teaching degree or any special prep. Like you said earlier, just 10-15 minutes a day can be enough to see real growth. And the design really helps prevent overwhelm, those early exercises. They're intentionally easy for quick success. Then it gently ramps up the complexity. Always encouraging. It's all about that positive feedback loop.
That positive feedback loop, yeah, that's essential. And it seems to be why kids genuinely enjoy it. Each page is like a fun puzzle, a visual riddle. Not just repetitive drills, it's learning, but it's kind of disguised as play. For practical advice at home, consistency seems key. Find a quiet moment, maybe fewer distractions. For the younger ones, say 4 or 5, parents should probably read the directions, maybe walk through an example, and instead of just giving the answer, ask guiding questions. Like, what do you think doesn't belong here? Or let's look again, what do you notice? And always praise the effort, right? Not just getting it right.
Absolutely. Praise the thinking process. For the older kids, maybe 6 or 7, you can definitely offer more independence, but maybe check in together if something seems really tough. It's so important to frame mistakes as just, well, part of learning, a valuable part. These workbooks are really meant to encourage persistence, trying things out, not create a fear of getting it wrong.
Good point. So to give you a feel for the actual activities at home, early levels for those 4 or 5-year-olds might have something like find the pair. That builds visual discrimination, comparing things, fine motor skills too, or maybe big or small, where kids sort objects by size, practicing comparison, classification, early logic skills.
And then as they move up, maybe to the higher levels for 6 to 8-year-olds, the tasks get more analytical. Like they might need to analyze changes in shapes or patterns or size. You might prompt them, okay, look at these 2 pictures. What changed here if maybe the size was different? This really encourages that analytical thinking, paying attention to detail, and it can naturally lead to talking about vocabulary too.
And it seems pretty easy to weave into a family routine. Could be a quick morning brain warm-up, or a calming, screen-free thing before bed, or even, pull it out as a fun game when a child says, I'm bored. And for homeschooling families, it looks like a really strong supplement, directly supporting STEM learning by boosting problem solving, logic, critical thinking, skills that fit easily into existing plans. Okay, so it's clear how valuable this can be at home, but for educators listening, the big question is often, how does this fit into an already packed school day? Expert, what makes this a truly valuable tool for nurturing thinking skills, perseverance, confidence? For that 4 to 8 age range in different school settings.
That's always the critical question for teachers, isn't it? Time and relevance. Brain Adventures directly targets those core cognitive skills that are essential right across the curriculum. Things like attention to detail, logical reasoning, visual processing, spatial awareness, memory, independent problem solving. So this isn't just another workbook, it's more like a strategic investment in those underlying mental abilities that support all learning. It's also impressively aligned with key developmental milestones and educational standards, like Common Core for math and ELA, or state standards like the Illinois Early Learning Standards. For example, you've got counting and quantity tasks that directly support numeracy, sorting and classification activities. They build early math reasoning skills.
And it goes beyond math too, right? Like visual comparison of shapes helping with geometric reasoning. Even early literacy gets a boost. I saw an activity in level 1, find the vegetables. That builds vocabulary, categorization, supporting literacy standards. And those multi-step puzzles, they foster executive functioning skills, planning, sequencing, which are just crucial for school readiness.
Absolutely. And the flexibility for classroom use is a major plus. Teachers could use it as a morning warm-up. Just 1 or 2 pages daily helps kids settle in, focus. It's also perfect for learning centers or stations. For independent work or maybe partner work, promotes self-direction.
Or even for calm down time, after recess or PE maybe, to help students refocus. What also seems great is how you can use it for individualized work or interventions. Enrichment for kids who need a challenge, gentle support for students maybe struggling with attention or learning differences. And it's accessible for English language learners because it's so visual. Plus, it makes for engaging short homework tasks that kids might actually, not dread.
Exactly. A non-threatening alternative.
Let's dive a bit deeper now into the specific activities across the age groups, starting with early childhood eds, ages 4 to 6, pre-K, kindergarten. This is such a huge period of cognitive growth for kids. And levels 1 through 3 of Brain Adventures, they're really designed to lay that solid foundation. Expert, what are the key developmental skills being targeted here? How do these activities support that big cognitive leap?
Well, at this stage, kids are making that major shift, right?
Yeah.
From very concrete thinking towards more abstract ways of understanding. So the skills targeted are crucial. Visual logic, hands-on thinking, sustained attention, comparison, sorting, matching, recognizing simple patterns, and of course, developing that fine motor control needed for writing later on. The workbook pages offer these clear, age-appropriate visual challenges. They help kids start organizing their thoughts without it feeling too overwhelming.
And some great examples for these younger kids in levels 1 to 3. There's find the odd one out. That develops early analytical thinking, figuring out classification rules, kind of like Kumon in its structure, but maybe more playful, encouraging exploration, not just repetition. You have continue the pattern, builds pattern recognition, logical prediction, fundamental for math thinking, and also helps with fine motor for handwriting.
Definitely. And let's not forget mazes and paths. They start out really simple, then get gradually more complex. These help kids learn to plan ahead a bit, stay focused, and improve their pencil control. By age 6, when they're moving into levels 3 or 4, tasks might introduce multi-step directions, something like cross out every third shape. That builds really critical school readiness skills. If we connect this to the bigger picture, these activities are about gently bridging that gap between free play and more structured learning, making the transition feel natural and enjoyable.
That makes sense. Okay, so as kids move into elementary grades, say 6 to 8 years old, the grades 1 and 2, the focus shifts, right, towards nurturing higher order thinking, planning, more complex logic, advanced pattern recognition, sustained attention, using levels 3 through 6. And here's where it gets really interesting. It's like a mental gym, building those cognitive muscles for harder academic stuff later on.
Yes.
How do these later levels really push those developing cognitive abilities?
It really is like a workout for the brain, yeah. These activities help develop strategic thinking. You see that in things like the challenging mazes with multiple possible paths, or even code puzzles that start building that early logic used in computer science. They also significantly boost concentration and mental stamina. Some tasks are longer, more complex, like finding all the sevens in a big 10 by 10 grid. Seems simple, but requires real focus.
Right, sustained attention. And they tackle genuinely complex problem solving too, like puzzles with multiple conditions. Place the shapes according to the rules, that kind of thing. That sounds like it directly mirrors mathematical logic, even computational thinking. Plus, I notice an emphasis on flexible thinking, creativity, tasks allowing more than one solution.
Right.
Connect the dots using your own strategy. That encourages kids to explore, experiment, not just find the one right way.
Exactly. And they also foster precision skills, self-regulation. Like when kids have to copy a visual pattern exactly, that strengthens working memory, executive function. These aren't just separate skills. They all interconnect and are vital for success across all school subjects.
So for instructional strategies in grades 1 and 2, consistency still seems key. Short sessions, 10-15 minutes daily. They suggest you might cover 1 or 2 full levels in a school year that way. And collaborative learning is encouraged too. Partner work, small groups, like doing a spot the differences together. That naturally supports speaking and listening skills too.
For sure. And that built-in differentiation is just a massive plus for teachers. The level design means students can work at their own challenge level without feeling singled out. It helps create a more equitable, supportive classroom. And the curriculum links are everywhere. Math integration, obviously counting, shapes, comparisons, geometry from grids, but also literacy support. Sharpening visual discrimination helps with recognizing letters, words, find the letter sequence activities.
You could even tie it into science or social studies. Use themed pages for vocabulary review, maybe mini investigations. And for STEM, computer science foundations, those puzzles with patterns, multi-step directions, great prep for coding, robotics thinking. It all seems rooted in that see, think, your act, succeed cycle on every page, getting that immediate feedback, building that sense of accomplishment. Now, Brain Adventures also seems to stand out as this flexible complementary tool. It aligns well with different modern educational approaches. Expert, how does it fit with something like Montessori? And how does it stack up against, say, a well-known method like Kumon?
That's an interesting comparison to draw. With Montessori education, for instance, Brain Adventures fits really naturally. Montessori emphasizes self-directed learning, puzzles, self-correction, and these workbooks offer purposeful skill building in that clean format that avoids overstimulation. Kids can often engage with them independently. It works well. Now, comparing it to Kumon, they both share that philosophy of daily incremental practice, which is valuable. But Brain Adventures differentiates itself by aiming to strengthen broader cognitive skills, logic, attention, spatial reasoning. Kumon often focuses very specifically on speed and accuracy in, say, arithmetic or reading drills, which has its place, of course. Brain Adventures is more about the mental gymnastics that build the underlying cognitive capacities, the thinking skills that support all academic work. You could absolutely pair them, actually. Use Kumon for specific drill practice and Brain Adventures for that broader cognitive workout. It could be a very well-rounded approach. They offer more contextual, maybe more intrinsically motivating challenges sometimes.
That distinction, targeted drill versus broader cognitive development, that's really key, isn't it? And it functions really well as a kind of mini STEM challenge too. Building those 21st century skills, critical thinking, problem solving, information processing. You see it in the symbolic thinking needed for code-breaking type puzzles, cause and effect reasoning, geometric puzzles for spatial reasoning, mazes for early algorithmic thinking. Plus, letting kids color it in integrates art into STEM, making it STEAM-focused.
Which brings us to a really important question, I think. In this world just flooded with information, how do we best equip kids? Not just with facts, but with the ability to think critically, to learn continuously. These workbooks can help fill a gap, even in traditional classrooms, strengthening attention, working memory, pattern recognition. That benefits all subjects. This sort of acts like a success trainer, fostering an environment where every child can feel accomplishment, which is so important for equity.
And because it's leveled, teachers can even use it as an informal assessment tool. They can observe a child's attention span, their logic, how they approach problems, track their growth, spot strengths, or areas needing a bit more support. Okay, so let's wrap up with some practical tips for nurturing success. The key seems to be consistency, that routine with short, regular sessions. For preschoolers, maybe 3 times a week, about 10 minutes. Elementary kids, grades 1, 2, maybe that 10-minute block daily. That pacing helps kids potentially complete 1 or even 2 full levels per school year without feeling pressured.
And balancing the activities is really important too. Prevent overload. Alternate the workbook tasks with maybe a movement break, or talking about it, or using hands-on blocks or something. Bridge that abstract and concrete thinking. The source material even offers sample weekly and monthly plans showing how to integrate these into broader themes or goals.
And keeping motivation high. Things like stickers, badges for milestones, maybe personal progress charts, and actually talking with kids about where they see improvements in real life. Hey, you solved that puzzle much faster today, or you really spotted that mistake quickly. That helps build a growth mindset, makes the learning feel real.
Absolutely. And the flexibility, the differentiation built in, it means you can adapt it for diverse learners, kids with special needs too. Simple tweaks, larger print, colored markers, using physical objects to model the problem first, make it really inclusive. It leverages that visual, hands-on design.
It all comes back to that see, think, act to succeed cycle, doesn't it? That immediate feedback loop builds confidence, connects learning with feeling successful. So what does this all mean for you? As a parent, an educator, or maybe just someone fascinated by how young minds grow? Well, Brain Adventures for Kids seems to be a flexible, trusted tool, one that genuinely tries to transform cognitive skill development into something fun, engaging, confidence-building. It's structured, it aligns with standards, and it builds skills that are just crucial for school and for life.
And as you think about all this, maybe consider this. How can that simple, consistent practice of playful thinking, playful problem solving, like we see in Brain Adventures, how can that cultivate not just specific skills, but a lifelong curiosity, a resilience in learning? How might you even apply that learning to learn philosophy to your own challenges, areas where you want to grow, maybe even in your own adult life?
That's definitely a lot to mull over, isn't it? And it really does make you think about learning, maybe in a whole new way.